When a wide receiver hits 10,000 career receiving yards, it means that he's one of the all-time best to ever do it. There's something special about hitting that 5-figure milestone, and to this day in NFL history, of the thousands upon thousands of players to catch a pass in the league, just 57 of them crossed the 10,000-yard mark. Of course, that milestone is a heck of a lot easier to get to now because of advancements in medicine and recovery that allow players to have longer careers, plus the rule changes that favor passing the ball, and because of the expanded season, where players, if you're watching as of this video getting released, play 17-game seasons. At the time of this incident in question back in 2007, just 28 players had crossed the 10,000-yard mark. So in the last 2 decades, that list has more than doubled. Plus, you're seeing a lot of teams play games indoors now, where you don't have to deal with the elements in November and December, which makes it a lot easier to catch a football. Still, it remains an awfully impressive feat to say that you had over 10,000 receiving yards in the league. It gives you a darn good case to make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It shows your longevity, and it solidifies your place in the record books and in NFL history forever. So what happens when this milestone isn't achieved, but an announcer thinks it is achieved? And I'm not talking about a play that an announcer thought was a gain of 15 yards to give the man 10,000 yards, but in actuality was a gain of 14 yards to give the man 9,999 yards. I'm talking about a play that was orders of magnitude off, almost like saying that you got an eagle on a par 4 when you actually shot a 10, or that you hit a home run out of the ballpark on a ball that went 5 feet away from home plate. Well, this man right here is Bryant Gumbel. And to say that this man was criticized a ton throughout the 2000s whenever he called NFL games would be putting it lightly. In many ways, Bryant Gumbel was a legend, but when it came to calling NFL games, Gumbel might legitimately be one of the worst to ever do it. Whereas the late great Greg Gumbel was one of the top dogs at CBS and even got to call a Super Bowl for the network, younger brother Bryant was anything but that, at least during the 2000s when he called games for NFL Network. As Gumbel said after departing from NFL Network during the 2008 offseason, after his much maligned 2 seasons calling the Thursday night package of games, "I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to call NFL Network games the past 2 years, which was a new experience for me. But we've agreed that we'd all be better served going in different directions." Translation: this wasn't working out at all. And perhaps no moment indicated that more than what transpired during this 2007 game on Thanksgiving between the Indianapolis Colts and the Atlanta Falcons. In terms of what actually happened on the field, it wasn't much of a game. The Colts entered at 8-2, and the Falcons entered at 3-7 in the midst of one of the most disastrous seasons by any team in NFL history, considering everything else that was going on. And the Colts, to the surprise of no one, made turkey dinner of the Falcons, winning the game 31-13 in an absolute massacre, where the Colts had double the number of first downs, where Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning threw 3 touchdown passes, and where the Falcons failed to score on their final 7 drives of the game, thanks in part to Joey Harrington throwing 2 interceptions and completing less than 50% of his passes. When you're playing the Peyton Manning-led Colts, and you have a 5-drive stretch where you turned over twice and amassed 27 total yards, you're probably not going to win. But off the field, the story was about 2 milestones, one of which was hit with ease, and one of which was not hit with ease. Because this is the story behind one of the dumbest announcer moments in the history of the NFL on Thanksgiving, and the man who has to be, without a doubt, the worst 10,000-yard receiver in the history of the NFL. Make sure you hit that like button down below, subscribe, hype up that video, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel, because we post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL with stories like this one that you probably never heard of before. So if you like that sort of stuff, then this is definitely the place for you. Thanks in advance for liking and subscribing, and for hyping up the video, and for joining this community. And with that in mind, let's talk about the time that Bryant Gumbel was more like Bryant Gumbel. Before I talk about the actual incident in question that took place on this Thanksgiving night in 2007, we need some context to understand what else was taking place during this game, because there actually was a milestone that was reached on this day for real. And that was achieved by this man right here, Atlanta Falcons running back Warrick Dunn. Dunn might be one of the greatest humanitarians and just all-around people to ever play the game. And not only was he a great person, but he was a great player. Entering Thanksgiving, the Falcon running back, who spent the first 5 years of his career down in Tampa, had 9,974 career rushing yards. If he got just 26, then he'd become one of just 23 players in NFL history at the time to reach 10,000 career rushing yards, with the vast majority of guys to join that club being enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Sure enough, Dunn got that with ease, as despite the loss, Dunn finished the game with 70 yards rushing, which was more than enough to get him over the 10,000 yard mark and stay there. Was it the smartest move for the Falcons to celebrate this mid-game, right as he reached the record? Seeing as we saw what happened with Dave Hampton in 1972, when he reached 1,000 yards rushing on the season, the Falcons stopped the game and honored him and celebrated, and then he lost yards and finished the season with under 1,000 yards rushing? Maybe not. Maybe you could have done this the game after. Regardless, this was a legitimate milestone that was achieved that was not only a big deal because of the exclusivity of the 10,000 yard club, but because it came against the Colts, led by head coach Tony Dungy, as in Dunn's coach in Tampa when his career began. As Dunn said after the game, "I was just trying to cherish the moment. I was in the right place, on the field with my teammates." What is crazy is that after the game, I talked to Coach Dungy, and he congratulated me. I told him he saw the first yard and the 10,000th yard. It's truly remarkable. And to Gumbel's credit, he recognized that situation immediately, and the booth with him and Chris Collinsworth knew exactly what was going on.
Guy is, and what a pro's pro he's been for now 12 years in the NFL. Dunn will get it, and he'll be close to the 2 yards he needs.
That is absolutely 2 yards, and earned the way that he has earned so many over the years.
And there it is. What an incredible young man he is, too. You talk about a guy who could get applause in any arena in this country. It's that guy, number 28, Warrick Dunn.
Not only for what he did in Tampa, not only for what he's done here, but what he's done for his own family and what he's done for so many families around the country.
So there was one milestone achieved, and this was a real one that 100% deserved to be celebrated, especially considering everything that Dunn had gone through. But Gumbel was in the mood for celebrating some more. He was in the mood for this Thanksgiving being the one of giving away records and milestones left, right, and center. Gumbel wasn't just thankful that we got one milestone, because he wanted a second. And that takes us to this man right here. Enter Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Anthony Gonzalez, who is having a monster day for the Colts, as you can tell. With the Falcons up 10-0 in the first quarter and shocking a ton of people with their fast start, Gonzalez quieted the crowd and finally got something to go in Indy's favor with a huge 35-yard grab on the first play of the drive. He had another drive get started with a 32-yard grab and had a couple of other catches down the field for first downs. But perhaps his most important catch was the one that got him the milestone. Because in the second quarter, the Colts were faced with 3rd and long. Don't get it? And you'll have to settle for 3 points, and the game is tied. Get the first, and you've got a goal-to-go situation potentially, and you can get a touchdown with a new set of downs and take your first lead of the game. And that's when this happened. Enjoy one of the craziest milestone catches in NFL history.
Payton trying to beat the play clock. He'll look for Gonzalez, finds him at the 10, first down Colts. And that should take him over the 105 mark for the game, which will give him more than 10,000 for his career.
what a moment for Anthony Gonzalez, who finished the game with 6 catches for 105 yards. That was what he needed, according to Gumbel, to get to 10,000 yards. And to do it in prime time on Thanksgiving, in front of a national television audience, even if the vast majority of the country couldn't watch it because no one had NFL Network back in 2007, is impressive and a moment that he'll cherish for the rest of his life. Being able to tell the family every Thanksgiving at the dinner table that you did what very few receivers in NFL history have ever done, and that you did it on this particular day in a winning effort, that makes the holiday that much more special and that much more awesome. However, there was just one small problem with this statement by Gumbel. There was just one teeny tiny problem with Gumbel's statement and record declaration from this man right here that we need to talk about. And it might be a minor nitpick, but oh yeah, this was not his 10,000th career receiving yard. Anthony Gonzalez was a rookie. That's right, the 10,000-yard receiver that Gumbel just gave praise to, he was drafted by the Colts just a couple of months before during the 2007 NFL Draft. The NFL record for most receiving yards in a season at that time was held by Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver in NFL history, who had 1,848 yards during the 1995 season with the San Francisco 49ers. This meant that in order for Gonzalez to get to 10,000 career receiving yards by Thanksgiving of his rookie season, he would have needed to quintuple the prior record and do it in 11 games, meaning that he would have needed to average an extremely doable 909 yards per game. Rams wide receiver Flipper Anderson owns the record for most receiving yards in a game, when he had 336 in a 1989 game against the Saints. Gonzalez would have needed to average about 3 times that for an entire season for Gumbel's statement to be true. By the time this Thursday night game was done, Anthony Gonzalez had 312 receiving yards for his career, which, to be fair to Gumbel, is only 9,688 yards away from 10,000. So maybe he jumped the gun just a little bit. That's not a huge difference. The difference between 312 and 10,000 is really split in hairs. It's just a couple of rounding errors and minute differences. That's all. And before you say, come on, you're just being pedantic, he wasn't talking about Anthony Gonzalez with 10,000. He was talking about Peyton Manning. I don't know how Gumbel could have possibly been talking about Peyton Manning here. For one, the last person that Gumbel referenced was Gonzalez. When you mention someone's name and immediately follow it up with him, it's implied that you're referring to that person and not a completely different party. If I say, I'm hanging out with Tom tonight, and then after that, I'm going over to hang with Mark, and he's really excited about that, you think I'm referring to Mark, not Tom. That's just how English works. Number 2, Peyton Manning wasn't at 105 yards after this throw. He had surpassed that mark well beforehand. And number 3, what stat could Manning have possibly passed 10,000 on? There was never any unit of measurement attached to the end. So I tried looking at everything. And when I say there's nothing whatsoever that this could apply on for Manning at 10,000, I mean it. If Gumbel meant completions, Manning entered the day with 3,349 completions. So to get to 10,000, he needs 6,651 completions to do so. All before halftime ended, mind you, when the NFL record at the time was set by Drew Bledsoe in 1994 when he had 45. If Gumbel meant yards, Manning entered the day with over 40,000 career passing yards, having crossed that mark in the last game against the Chiefs. So Gumbel was off by a solid 7 years with 10,000 passing yards, seeing as Manning got that milestone against the Patriots all the way back on October 22nd, 2000. If he means first downs, there was no universe where the Colts had 105 first downs by this point, and Manning threw for over 3,600 first downs in his career, which, while impressive, is nowhere close to 10,000. And seeing as Gonzalez had 105 receiving yards during this game, I'm fairly confident that Gumbel was talking about this man right here, Anthony Gonzalez, because there's no one else he could have been talking about. It was never brought up again, Gumbel never retracted or apologized for it, and that was that. So congratulations, Anthony Gonzalez, on getting 10,000 career receiving yards. Anthony Gonzalez could never stay healthy, as while he was talented and showed it off at times, especially during that game against the Falcons in 2007, he didn't do much of anything in the NFL, finishing his career with 1,307 receiving yards. So, not too far off from Gumbel's 10,000 total. The Colts had 2 receivers on that 2007 team that reached the 10,000-yard milestone at one point or another, with those guys being Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Unsurprisingly, Anthony Gonzalez was not one of them. Not even close. In fact, he's not even in the top 50 Colts players all time in receiving yards. But if you want to know how disastrous Bryant Gumbel was during the 2000s with NFL Network as the play-by-play man, this should give you a pretty good idea. Because by Gumbel's logic, you should all be congratulating me that I've got 10 million subscribers. You should all be congratulating Bartolo Colon on reaching 500 career home runs, and you should be congratulating Jamarcus Russell on reaching 60,000 career passing yards. I wasn't kidding when I said that he was orders of magnitude off. Because on this Thanksgiving Day in 2007, many Americans were thankful that they didn't have NFL Network, so they didn't have to listen to Bryant Gumbel. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name of the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.